Guys, Iran continues to descend into chaos as protests spread throughout the country, and in some areas the police are actually joining in, which is a positive sign. And in other areas, protests seem to be pushing back government forces. Israel is eyeing the situation carefully and is especially concerned by a new round of threats issued by the ayatollahs directly at Israel. Also, the US may be moving operators and equipment to Iran's borders in preparation for a preemptive strike of their own. And in the meantime, Bibi just cut a really concerning deal with the Syrians, which may be confusing on its face. And on top of all of that, there are rumors right now that Al-Sharaa himself, the rebel leader of Syria, may have just been injured in an assassination attempt. Before we get into details on the situation in Iran, let's talk about what's going on in Syria. Over the last few days, Israel has been holding talks in Paris with representatives of the new Syrian government, focusing on de-escalation, diplomacy, and commercial opportunities between the two countries, and also shared intel, which is a fascinating, if not concerning, development. Basically, according to current reports, the United States has been wanting to broker these talks between Israel and Syria for quite some time, and now it finally is happening. Syria has always held a hard line when it comes to Israel, being one of the last countries you'd ever expect to cut an actual deal with Israel. And even in this new regime, things aren't any better. Al-Sharaa himself is a hardcore jihadist, and many of his top commanders have vowed death to the state of Israel and made it very clear that they are only biding their time until they are in a better position to attack Israel in force. But what's becoming more and more apparent is the fact that the Syrians are currently between a rock and a hard place. Israel destroyed most of the Syrians' modern military capability when Assad fled to Russia. Israel also captured a wide swath of Syrian territory on the buffer zone and have made it very clear that they will hold no compulsion about defending any of their interests in the region, even when it comes to deploying military force anywhere in Syria, which Israel has already done several times in this last year. Syria is getting some assistance from Turkey, but Turkey is also doing the same as Israel when it comes to border pressure, only with seemingly more devilish intentions. This leaves the Syrians with little option but to court the assistance of the United States and, by proxy, the state of Israel itself, hence the talks in Paris. And the result of those talks is this. It was just announced yesterday that both Syria and Israel have agreed to a joint fusion mechanism, a dedicated communication cell, in their words, for the sharing of intelligence and military de-escalation information and for commercial opportunities under the supervision of the United States. It was also announced that both countries are actively working towards a future security agreement, basically a tacit peace deal. Also, both countries will be instituting confidence-building measures, whatever that means. It looks like President Trump is pushing for both countries to sign a deal at Mar-a-Lago as quickly as possible. I think all of this could be very concerning. I don't think Israel really wants to cut a deal with the Syrians. And even though Al-Sharaa can put on a suit and play basketball with American top military brass, he still is a former ISIS commander. And there's very little doubt that he has the same goals of jihadist dominance that he publicly held just a few years ago, meaning any deal that is cut with his government can and will be used against the Israelis and also the United States as soon as the Syrians feel comfortable to do so. But there may have just been a massive wrench thrown in all of this. There are a lot of reports circulating on the internet that Al-Sharaa was just seriously injured in an assassination attempt. There's this photo of him in a hospital bed, as seen here. So far, his officials are denying that this is true. They even released a video of him in a Damascus shop as proof that he's fine. But someone on the internet just brought the receipts to prove that this video was actually from last week. Israel had just warned the Syrians a few days ago that Iran had an active plot to assassinate Al-Sharaa, but at this point, all of this is unconfirmed. So stay tuned for further updates. All of this comes as the situation on the ground in Iran continues to rapidly unfold, and also Israel begins movement on a new strategy with Hezbollah. But first, guys, I have a clip from a brand new film I want you to watch. Take a look.
Now is the time to understand that redemption is happening. The words of the prophet are becoming a reality.
Explore the mystery. Discover the majesty. And feel the power of the very heart of Jerusalem.
I am Israel.
I am Israel.
I am Israel.
This much anticipated sequel to the groundbreaking film I Am Israel is the first movie ever made about the Temple Mount. And it's a project that I'm personally very excited about. It was made by a good friend of ours, David Kern. I did a lot of the cinematography on it, as did Justin, other guys on the team. It did drone work, etc. Joshua is in it. Go to the israelguys.store to pick up your copy today, or click the link in the description below. Over the last few days in Iran, we've seen footage of protests spreading from city to city like a wildfire. In some areas, police are joining in the protests. As you can see in this video here, police forces are on top of the police station, waving at protesters as they come by. In other cities, protesters are actually taking control. In the city of Abdanan, they broke into the main warehouse, and apparently the police are not doing anything to stop them. Either there are too many protesters for the police to stop, or they don't actually want to stop them and are joining in the protests like we saw in that previous video. Protesters in Abdanan also overran the city's main municipal building, and in Malik Shahi, armed locals took control of the city, pushing regime forces out entirely. President Trump warned the ayatollahs that firing on protests would be a hard red line for America and could result in action taken by the US, like we just did in Venezuela. But Iran didn't heed the warning, and Revolutionary Guard members have in fact fired on protesters using live fire. And so far, dozens of Iranians have been killed, including 4 children, and over 1,200 Iranians have been arrested. So how President Trump will take this is unclear, but if this last week is any indication of what he's thinking, we just might be seeing some American action in Iran on the ground sometime soon. Just yesterday, Trump and Lindsey Graham posed for a picture with a Make Iran Great Again hat. And reports are surfacing that American operators are being moved to strategic locations in the region. Whether this is in preparation for a specific mission or just as a precaution against Iran launching an attack on American bases in the region remains to be seen. But there are reports that dozens of U.S. Air Force refueling tankers and massive transport aircraft, specifically C-5 and C-17s, have launched from the United States and a U.S. base in the UK en route to the Middle East. There's a video from Tehran of the Iranians deploying additional air defense units in possible preparation for an attack. Apparently, multiple media outlets are getting tips from U.S. officials that the United States may be on the verge of launching some kind of attack on Iran, which at this point, we don't know if that's true or if it's a bluff to make the Iranians think it's true. The Trump administration so far has seemed like they've done a good job at using deception as a strategic weapon against their enemies. Israel, for their part, is very concerned about the Ayatollahs launching some kind of a desperate attack on Israel. It's not calming anybody's nerves that Iran just issued multiple threats to both the United States and Israel. They said that if it detected clear signs of a threat by either country, they would take preemptive action, which is concerning because only Iran gets to decide if they think that there are clear signs of a threat by either the US or Israel. We know that the Ayatollahs are very radically motivated by jihad, and their backs are against a wall due to the unrest throughout the country, meaning who knows what their next moves could be. It would be very important for all of us believers to pray for the safety of God's people as all of this goes down over the next few weeks. Israel, for their part, has been launching a series of airstrikes deep inside southern Lebanon, targeting buildings used by Hamas and Hezbollah. Before the strikes, the IDF issued evacuation warnings to residents of the nearby villages, and it seems like this may be a warning strike. The Lebanese government has been making a show of disarming Hezbollah over the last little bit, but it's becoming increasingly clear that Hezbollah is fully intending to keep their offensive capabilities. This week, they said that they are drawing a bright red line on dismantling their precision-guided missiles and advanced drone capabilities. Israel, in response, issued a warning saying if Lebanon won't curb Hezbollah's arsenal, Israel will. And the strike Israel just did seems to demonstrate that they are fully intending to back up this threat.
we're glad to provide our assistance.
On a better note, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar just arrived in Somaliland yesterday for the first official Israeli visit to the country it just recognized, which is a historic step. Sa'ar met with Somaliland's president and other top officials. He said in a statement, Somaliland is and has been a stable democracy for nearly 35 years. It has democratic elections, most recently in November 2024, and a peaceful transition of power. It's pro-Western and friendly to Israel. He also took the opportunity to send a jab towards Abbas. He said, unlike Palestine, Somaliland is not a virtual state, it's a functioning state. Somaliland is a fully functioning country based on the principles of international law. Back on the home front, the Palestinian Authority have announced that they will be changing up the rules for their pay-to-slay program, the program where Palestinians are paid salaries for murdering Jews. In the past, these payments have been calculated based on the length of prison sentence. So the longer you were in jail, the more money that you received. And probably due to the financial straits that the PA government is currently in, they are moving this program to pay salaries based on income needed for the families of the terrorists, not length of prison stay. At least that's what they're publicly claiming. Israel, for their part, is saying that there's no evidence that anything is actually changing here, but it may actually be happening because hundreds of Palestinians turned out on the streets in Nablus, or the biblical city of Shechem, to protest. Not protest the fact that their government pays terrorist salaries for murdering people. No, they are protesting that their salaries would be going away or changing. As you can see in these photos here, there are a lot of Palestinians who are very upset about this new set of possible quote-unquote reforms inside the Palestinian government. It's hard to imagine how these people would make a living if they wouldn't be paid for murdering Jews anymore by their own government. Guys, don't forget to visit our store to pick up your copy of I Am Israel, the Mountain of the King. You can do that at theisraelguys.store or click the link in the description. As always, thanks for watching.